Masechet Bava Metzia Daf Samech Vav Amud Beis in the middle of the page. Look where the blue lines are. Ve'omar Rav Pope. Omar Pope, welcome to the Torah Anytime people, YouTube, and of course everybody here in Ahavas Shalom Beis Shemesh. Omar Pope, what does Rav Pope say? Afel Gav the Omar Rabbanon Asmachta Loi Kanya. Although Rabbanon said Asmachta Loi Kanya, which means if a person, his arm was twisted, he's like an onus, and he said, okay, I will give you my $2 million apartment in case I don't pay the 1 million, right? So we say under certain circumstances, he wasn't serious about it. Even though he said it, he really didn't mean it. And the outside context shows he wasn't serious because nobody in his right mind would do it, right? And it's just because he needed the money. Okay. So now comes another question. Another question comes to mind, and that is if the person, the malve, is dafka interested in that particular property, in the property that he had his eyes on, and he says, you know what? Okay, I'm not going to get the 2 million, but the 1 million which I deserve, because that's what I lent you, that 1 million, I want it to be only from this apartment and nowhere else. That's a new question. That's all new question. In other words, and here Rav Papa comes and says, even though Asmachta is not koine, which means you're not going to get the extra, and therefore, if you come up with cash, give him cash. Or no, excuse me, you don't get the 2 million, but a poitiki havya lemig. It does have the status of a poitiki. A poitiki is the term which we've seen many times before. A poitiki means as follows. Usually, when a person is meshabed his lands to somebody else, which means meshabed, you know what shibud means, I hope by now. And if a person borrowed money, his karka, his lands are automatically meshubad to the malve, to the lender. Nevertheless, there's an extra special shibud called a poitiki. A poitiki is really a combination of three words, apot tehekai. You should stand over this one and no other. Which means if I say to someone, I'm giving you this field by poitiki, meaning that if if I don't pay you, you get from this field and no other. And I cannot tell him, oh, go to the other one, go to the other one. There was an agreement saying you get from this particular one and no other. You can do it also by an eved. Yeah, let's say a person has 10 avodim, and the malva says, I want this eved. He's very diligent. He's a good worker. I want, okay. So I give you this eved. They sign, they say, okay, this one is a poitiki. You will only get paid, if not from cash, you'll get paid only from this one. By the way, there's a higher level of a poitiki, which we're going to see soon. Apoitiki, Machavus told me the term. I didn't know it. Apoitiki, Bedafka, I don't remember. There's an apoitiki that is not, that even surpasses cash. Wow. I can sometimes tell you, I want only that piece of land and not even cash. I want this Eved and no cash. Ad kedekach. That's apoitiki deluxe, right? And a regular apoitiki means that you can give me cash. If you don't give me cash, then I'll get this land and no other lands. Okay? Says Pope. Here, there's a status of a poitiki, which means that since they spoke about this piece of land, then this piece of land is what the Malva is going to get. But that's not so simple at all. Ravuna Breda of Noson told Rav Pope, Mika Omerle Kni Legovaina. Did he actually say that? They didn't mention it. No, it's not true. In other words, just because this soda was collateralized, but they didn't specifically said only this one, right? They didn't say I want only this field. They said if I don't pay you, right, then you get from this field, but not only this field, right? Besides the fact the whole thing is an asmachta, as we're going to ask, but Lamaisa said I have to give you what back 2 million, and this field is in your hand, temporarily as with a question mark. And if I don't pay you, you get paid, but not only this field, and I have 10 others. Nobody excluded the other fields. Yeah. In other words, if I give a collateral to your house, yeah, let's say I borrow from someone 100 shekels and I give you my, I don't know, Tudat Zehut, okay, like they do in Israel in many, yeah. So then it doesn't mean you only get my Tudat Zehut. You actually don't care about it. They give you other items as well. Tudat Zehut could be a temporary way to make sure security mode, but it doesn't mean the security mode is the one that I'll actually use at the end of the day, as long as they didn't specify and said this should be the Apoite Ekai. So that's a question of Papa. Why should you get only this property and no other? Omar lei, so he etbu. Okay, 1 second. Omar lei. Okay, sorry. Beseder. Omar lei, so he told him. Okay. Omar lemarzut obedo Omar leravina. Now he answered and he said, Ve'i Omar kni lemigba binei kani. And let's say he did. Let's say he said, if I don't pay you on time, in 3 years' time, this field will be yours. Would that field really be his? Even if they specified, soif, at the end of the day, asmachta hi asmachta lo kanya, which means, just like we say that the whole deal was wrong, because the person who said, I'm going to give you the 2 million apartment is talking nonsense out of pressure, is just a smachta, and a smachta is not koine. Even if you told him, yes, this apartment, and he said 10 times, this apartment, only this apartment, and nothing but this apartment, who cares? Just like we said regarding the million versus 2 million, that the whole deal is wrong, because why? Of course he owes him the money. Like, of course, when the day comes, he has to pay him. That's obvious, and nobody's questioning that. But just like we say that the whole connection between the choiv and that apartment is absolutely wrong, because we say that's an asmachta, and it wasn't serious. Just like we say it regarding million versus 2 million, we also say it regarding this apartment, regarding other nechosim. And other nechosim are in place. He wasn't serious about it. He was saying, that's a potential collateral. Even if he mentioned it, because the whole talk here was wrong right from the start, both vis-a-vis the amount and vis-a-vis the quality of this land and the other lands. So when on earth do you have a case of an apoitiki that only this one and no other? I want to also be mechaded. I want to now sharpen the nafkamina like Rashi. Says Rashi as follows. Rashi says something interesting. What would be if the apartment actually came to the hands of the Malvin? The day came, and as you very dramatically said yesterday, Tzvi, the time came, 9 o'clock in the morning. After 3 years came the 22nd of Tammuz. I don't know, whenever the death was, it's automatically in his hands. You know what? You're right. Very nice. But what comes, I'm with you now. So let's say the apartment is his. However, we say half the apartment has to be shaven off, right? Okay, that is, whether you like it or not, for sure the halacha, because mapitom 2 million for 1 million. What are you going to do? Build a wall in the middle. And what? And now Mr. Malve has half the apartment. What happens if a week later Mr. Loive comes with the money? He comes with million shekel, $1 million, whatever, the debt. Can you kick out Mr. Malve? Usually, yes, unless it's an apoitiki. And that's actually a halacha which we learned many moons ago in Daf Tesvav Tezayin Amud Beis. It's called Shuma Hodar. Shuma Hodar. If a person got his land, yeah, if the person Loive, unfortunately, his apartment came to the hands of the bank, lo aleinu, his apartment came to the hands of the Malve, we say what? That if sometime later, machlokes, whether within a year or even later, he came up with the money, he can reverse things and actually get the property back because now he paid the loan. So it is reversible. When isn't it reversible? You know when? Apoitiki. So that's enough kamina. Here I'm telling you a clear case. Again, I'm repeating for you and for the Zoom. If a person borrowed money, okay, and now he says, you have any apartment, I have property all over the country. Very nice. Okay. And he chose. The time came, he didn't pay, oy vay voy, Rachmana litzlon, came to Malve and sat down where? In one of his lands, the one in Netanya. Then, in our case, he sat in half the land in Netanya, okay, because not the whole amount. Now comes the guy, the loive, with the money, and says, okay, here's the money. He came a week later, 2 weeks later, up to a year for sure, and could be even later. Me'ikar adin, you can kick him out and say, I'm sorry, my apartment is yours, not forever and ever and lechatchila. It was just plan B because I didn't have money. I'm back to plan A, mister. Here's the money, cash in your hands, bank transfer. And therefore get out of my land and give me because I'm giving you the money, you give him back the land. That is absolutely doable usually. Here, if you want to say a poitiki, then you cannot do that. One of the nafkaminas of a poitiki means that this land is so secure in my hands that A, no other land you can give me. B, if you gave me cash after the land is ready in my hands, I'm the malve, then you can't get me out of there. A poitiki is more like half a kinyan already. His claws are set on that place. And that's a discussion in the Gemara. When would you say that is so strong. We're talking Asmachta here. The whole business was very shaky. And you, Rav Papa, are telling me that it's so strong in the hands of the Malve that he can't even reverse it, the Loive, and the half apartment will be his forever and ever. Okay, so therefore the Gemara answers, Ela apoitiki de koma Rav mahi. So what is the apoitiki the Rav Papa was saying? What is the apoitiki that Rav Papa did talk about? Surely Rav Papa made sense. And so far Rav Papa does make sense. So what did he really mean? The Omerle, he told him, Lo yelecha piroin ela mizu. Must be that he clearly told him, you will only have piroin ela mizu. Lo yelecha piroin ela mizu, and not even money, says Rashi. Wow. Says Rashi, you want to create a matzav of what? A poitiki, in our case, you have to say clearly, right from the start, not that within 3 years I can pay you cash, and then if I fell behind, then you get the apartment. That's not a poitiki enough for us, especially not in this whole shaky asmachta business. We must say no. The right from the start, the one and only payment, the mode of payment would be what? The land. That's a poitiki plus, a poitiki bedafka. And therefore, no question, you can't kick him out with money. Money was not on the table. Wow. And then we say the karka will be his. How much of the karka? Half the karka. Because the other million he doesn't deserve because he didn't lend him a million. Okay? Let's say that. Now, next case. Next case has nothing to do with ribis bepashtus, but let's see. Ahu Gavra, real life story. Ahu Gavra, there was a man. Ahu Gavra, the zabin le'ara lechavre ba'achrayas. A man sold a piece of land to his friend with achrayas. Achrayas means what? If anybody comes to you, Mr. Buyer, and claims that I, the seller, owe him money, then don't worry about it. They'll take away your apartment. I'll compensate you. I'll give you instead another piece of land. Very nice. The question is, what kind of land? Let's say the property they bought was a very, very cheap apartment in Yerushalayim, only $3 million. Really? Oops, what a Metzia. Yeah, you can buy a few every day. So now you owe him 3 million. Very nice. Omerle, if really your lenders, the people are biting you, if they come and take it from me, magvisli meide idis the islach, will you give me from the idis of the idis that you have? Would you give me from the cream of the crop, from the best land that you have? We all know that there are 3 types of land in halacha always, in reality. Idis, Beinonis, and Ziburis. Idis means the best, Beinonis is medium, and Ziburis is garbagey. Idis is the top of the range, Mamesh, above the best. So let's say that person who just lent the money, and now he's signing a chrayas that he will compensate and give another land instead of the one taken from you, Mr. Buyer, and now he's asking him, the buyer is asking the seller, that 3 million you'd owe me, I would like to have your nice house or a little house in Savion, the top of the top of the range. Let's say it's 3 houses. Savion, top of the top, Tel Aviv, which is top, and I don't know, Beersheba, no offense, whatever, not the top of the top. Below Kiryat Malachi. Below the lowest one. No, whatever. No offense. Beersheba people, I love you all. Okay, so then will you give me that 3 million you owe me from the best of the land that you have? Omerle, oh, I'm so sorry. Said the seller to the buyer, customer's always right, but no, the best of the best, I will not give you instead. That's not what I'm going to use to compensate you. I won't give it to you. The ba'in and lamekam kamai, that I'd like to stay by me. I'm keeping the best sweetie for myself, the best thing I do want to keep for myself, and I'm making it very clear right now. I'll give you another idis, one level below. Instead of Savion, I'll give you North Tel Aviv, which is not the best, and then that's what I'll give you. I'll give you second best. That's what I owe you. Now comes a very, very interesting question. Lesoif, you know what happened in the end? Talfuamino, sadly enough, the Balichoiv, the bank that Mr. Seller owes money to, nasty knock on the door, get out of here. Your apartment is owed to us, is collateralized to us. So now, what does he do? Also, and you know what would you do now? go to the seller. You owe me the apartment. Which one? The one in Tel Aviv, not the one in Savion, not the top of the top, just the top. Yeah, level 2, the silver, not the gold. But you know what happened? Oy vavoy. Also, bidka shakili the idis came a flood and flooded the land which is Ida Idis. His land in Savion, the best one, which is doesn't owe, is now there was an explosion, or in the story of the Gemara, the land was flooded and is worth nothing. That's it. In other words, the top of the range doesn't exist anymore. Now we have a very, very interesting question. Do you go by something fixed or do you go by relativity? Let's see if you get the Inyan now. Sava of Papa Lemema. A Papa wanted to say, but didn't say. A Papa wanted to say, Me'idis Omerle Ve'okaima. Wait. Now, what did he say? I won't give you from Savion. I'll give you from the Idis, which is Tel Aviv. And here it is. Take it. Right? What's the question? I was owed, says the Loive. Which one? The one in Tel Aviv, the second best, not the gold, but the silver. That still exists. Who cares what happened in Savion? Now, that's what I'm owed and finished. And that's what Rav Papa thought. Now, however, if you go with relativity, is it right? No. Omer le Rav Achim Difti Ravina. Rav Achim Difti told Ravina. Rav Achim Difti told Ravina, Velei Malei, Lechor, you could tell him, the moicha, the seller can tell the buyer, Ki amri lach ano, magbina lach. You know, when I said I'll give you the one in Tel Aviv, which is second best, because the best of the best existed. So relatively, the one I gave you was which one? Second best was Tel Aviv. That's what I said I'm giving you. But hashta kaimeli idis bimkom idis. Now idis became the best. Now number 2 became 1. Because number 1 is out of the game, is out of the board, is out of the question, is not there. Mimela Tel Aviv became a prime property. Beersheva second and Dimona third. Yeah, like in sports, Lavdil, he's out of the game. Now number 2 became number 1, right? So Mimela, I'm not going to give it to you. And so is Mashma the Halacha. In other words, we don't go by the second best lefi the way it is now, and although now it became first. No, we say if now second best became first, then I'll give you not from Tel Aviv, I'll give you from Beersheva. In other words, I don't owe you the Tel Aviv one, I owe you the second best one, whatever it may be. That's what we say. Okay? Yeah. Question time. As an addendum, just to add some input. Yes, all pieces of land are worth the same, of course. In other words, it's a question of how much would you take, which means if one house in Savion is, let's say, worth 3 million, worth more, but yeah, is worth 3 million. I prefer having. Oh, let's not talk about houses. I can move to houses later. The difference between getting Edis, Benunis, and Ziburis is how much of the land would you get. In other words, a piece of land of, let's say, 1 kilometer or whatever, over 1 kilometer in the best place, right, is like 2 in the medium place and like 3 in the worst place. So I prefer having small and quality than a lot and less quality. Of course, at the end of the day, it's the same number because he owes him the same amount. Obviously, think about it. He owes him 3 million. I prefer my 3 million in one cutesy boutique apartment in North Tel Aviv rather in 10 apartments in Dimona. When I left, it's true today also. I don't deal with 10 different renters and 10 different leaking roofs and 10 different dud shemesh, right? In Dimona, rather if I can have one nice, cute, concentrated apartment in Tel Aviv, which is worth the 10 of Dimona, that's a difference. Of course, the money has to always be the same. Yeah? Okay. They said I should have said it before, but let's continue. Rav Bar Shava, story time, another Maise. Rav Bar Shava. Rav Bar Shava, one of the Meroim, have a masik be Rav Kahana Zuzi. Rav Kahana charged him Zuzi. Rav Kahana was the lender. Rav Kahana was masik. Masik is the opposite of owing. Yeah. Rav Kahana was the one who was owed money by who? Rav Kahana was owed money by Rav Bar Shava. Omerlei. And then he told him, listen, similar to the story of the Mishnah, says the one who owes money, Rav Bar Shava says to Rav Kahana, if I don't pay you back by certain day, by certain time, then you can collect from this wine. Okay, I have wine in the cellar. That's nice. Look, I have wine in the cellar. No, if date X comes, Rosh Chodesh Elul comes, you don't see the cash in your hands, no problem. Here's the wine. and take the wine. Okay, very nice. Now, okay. So now that wine, bear in mind, the wine can become more expensive later, cheaper later. Yeah, sometimes people are not happy with having wine. Yes, happy with the wine, but for now, just all kinds of scenarios. For now, if not cash, then wine. Okay, Purim. I would say for the wine for tomorrow's Suda. Some of popular meme, Rav Papa wanted to say, again, he wanted to say that as follows. Oh, again, we come to Asmachta. Maybe when we say Asmachta Lokanya, Hanimili Be'ara, the Lav Lisbuni Kaima. Let's say the person may say, for whatever reason, I don't want to go now to examples and arguments. Let's say the person who owes money could say, listen, it's an Asmachta, because maybe the wine got more expensive now. Yeah, and I prefer the wine. When I said this or wine, I wasn't serious about giving you the wine. Says Rav Papa, when can we play the Asmachta game and say it's only an Asmachta? That's what a piece of land, because a piece of land, lav lizibuni kaima. Land naturally, normally, unless you're a big business mogul, I don't know, like these people in the face. Most people don't, sell pieces of land every day all the time. Some do. Most people, don't sell their own land just like that. Also, the Gemara says, not to sell your piece of land unless you really have to, right? It's also a halacha. So mimela, a piece of land naturally is something I want to stay with, okay? And therefore, if I say, oh, if I don't give you the money, then the piece of land will be automatically yours. We say, to say the piece of land is yours, are you serious? Are you sure? Are you really into it? It's an asmachta. We don't easily go along with the karka being, sold unless we really know that he's serious. Aval chamra, wine, mapitom. Look what's going on in the Merkaz. They sell wine all the time. Kevan de lizbunikai, because the wine is meant to be sold all the time, kizuzi dami, it's like money. In other words, it's such a commodity that's sold all the time, mimela, that's very normal to sell it all the time. It's like money. Let me give an example. Let's say, I'll give you, if I'm supposed to pay you dollars, and all of a sudden I paid you in pounds. We're not going to say, what who cares, dollars or pounds? Machpat, they're all commodities. They're all not commodities, actually. They're all currencies that are being sold. They're in the market. So maybe things like wine or other things that are being sold all the time are just a synonym, just the same thing as money. Yeah. In other words, it's not like plan A, plan B. You can say, oh, I really wanted money. Oh, plan B, karka? I wasn't serious. I hope to give money, and karka, I want to keep my money. I'm possessive about my karka because karka is something I'm not supposed to give. But wine is sold anyways. So maybe when it comes to wine, you're not going to say it's a smachta, because just like you're going to pay cash, you pay cash in the form of wine. It's almost like cash. It's so, it's so, the mischer, it's so dealt with all the time. It's sold all the time. No. Comes Ravuna Bed of Rav Papa, and here we come to the big punchline. He says to Rav Papa, he's correcting Rav Papa's idea, and he says no. He says no. This is what we said on behalf of Rabbah. Kol de'i loikani. Oh, that is it. Kol de'i loikani means as follows. Any if not quoted verbatim, any statement that starts with if not, then you buy that is not a kinyan. Wow, which means, and in a way, that's even better than the guy in the casino. Let me explain. If I say I'm borrowing money, I'm not buying anything. I need to borrow money. Pressurized, not pressurized. I need to borrow money. I'm supposed to give back what money? And I tell you, if not, then my apartment is yours. That if not is not a kinyan, because we know that's not what you have in mind. You go to the casino, you shouldn't go. But let's say somebody goes to the casino, chas v'shalom, he goes there. Why? He wants to win. He plays a card game in Hanukkah. Okay, he wants to win. He doesn't think of plan B. He doesn't think of the other option. Same thing over here. Even if it's wine, if I say money for money, and if I don't give you money, then the wine is automatically yours. It's not yours. Now, obviously, it's true what you're saying, that he has to pay something. Now, what happens if it doesn't come with cash? Let's say it doesn't come with cash. Oy, oy, oy. Nobody's getting him off the hook. You know what he's going to give him instead of cash? Shoes, socks. sfarim. In other words, the wine is just a temporary collateral to make sure that he's going to pay something. But that wine is of itself is not sold. Again, there is a way out, and now it's time to summarize a little bit the whole Inyan. You have to bear in mind that there's a one huge ukimta, one huge caveat to the whole story, and that is if he said lemafreya, then he is koine, and that's Shulchan Aruch, and that's what we saw at the beginning of the page. Let's repeat, let's revise. We said as follows: in our Mishnah, at the end of the day, you should be happy, Tzvi, because at the end of the day, the Mishnah said the story of Baitus Ben Zunin was the karka did belong to Baitus Ben Zunin, even though it was worth more, right? The karka, that particular karka that his eyes on, worth double as much, did belong to the lender. Why? Says the Gemara originally, and that's the best to kimta out of them all, the most prevalent one. If the what's his name? If the borrower said, the loiva said, listen, this karka is yours lemafreya, right from lemafreya. If I don't pay you in 3 years' time, 9 o'clock in the morning, 00, I don't come with the cash, then the land was always yours, then it's good. Why? Why? Because I told you, plan B is not a plan. When you make a bar mitzvah, I know a lot of people here in the room are very organized people. You make a bar mitzvah to your son, your grandson, and you say, plan A, fancy hall, very nice, all good, this, yeah. In the garden. Plan A, I want to make the bar mitzvah in the garden. And this nice garden, all planned. Your wife already bought a whole new dress, which is matim to the flowers, whatever, v'chule, and there's a limo waiting, the same color. You have your bar mitzvah dream, and there's a bar, smorgasbord with 10 like this up to the sky, the meat and the carving station. And if not, and if it's going to rain, and if there'll be a recession, if something, you have plan B. You want plan B? No. If it's going to rain, then it's going to be inside, and everyone's going to be so disappointed. Plan B is not what you want. That's Asmachta, my friend. I don't really want plan B. That's a psychology here. You can argue, you cannot argue, whatever. Mimela. Now he says, if I say, I'll give you the money, I'll give you the money, I'll give you the money. If I don't give you the money, then wine, then this, then karka. No, the wine and the karka are not yours. I mean, of course, you'll get them, but you can also get other things. Yeah, they're not yours more than cash or more than shoes, more than socks. However, when we said lemafreya, then plan A switched to plan B, and plan B became plan A. If I give you the karka now, and you did a kinyan now, and we say, if in 3 years' time I don't pay you, retroactively the kinyan is yours, then it's the other way around. We start with you, the malbez, being the buyer. You are the buyer. You are the buyer. And if you get the money from me to pay back the loan, then the purchase will be canceled. Plan B became plan A and vice versa. Then we don't say Asmachta. Because then we say, of course, and then to be right, then in Echanami, could be that Mr. What's his name, Loive, would really prefer to give money and not say goodbye to his prized apartment. True. But Lemaise, if you have to know how to phrase the lawyer's contract, if really they said, I want you to get, if I say I'm selling you the karka now, borrower to lender, it's yours. Unless I pay and then I'll get it back from you, then we switched order, and then we say, Abada, the apartment is his, and the payment of the money is plan B. And that's what a smart lender should do, and then everyone will be happy. Big smile for Purim. Seder. Weiter. Questions? Okay. Seder? Yes. Let us now go back from where we are at the bottom of the page to the top of the page, because I want to again summarize and show you how Rashi says it in his own words. Why is it that if the kinyan is lemafreya, then we say that asmachta kanya? Says Rashi. If I don't give you the money from now until 3 years, then retroactively the land is yours from now as a kinyan. The lav asmachta, that's not an asmachta. El kinyan gomer. I said that. El kinyan gomer. He actually made the kinyan. He made the nol godar upora. Tzrofak bepurta. Actually did a kinyan. It's a kinyan on hold, but that kinyan started. Now I'm continuing. Shal menas mecher gomer hichzik b'meachsha b'domim alolu, which means I, Mr. Malve, I'm really Mr. Buyer. Why? I gave you 1 million, and I locked the door, opened the door, painted the wall, which means I did a kinyan, gave the money. Hey, the land is mine. Woohoo! unless what? Unless Vazuli Ozil Gabay, it's worth 2 million and gave 1 million, that is of itself is okay. I said it all along. Some people give their apartments for half price. You really rushed. You want to make aliyah very, very much. You all of a sudden got very, very excited making aliyah. Some people would sell the house in this, I don't know, somewhere in America for half price and go get off the plane. Yeah. Kibel Olov, Elamai, he accepted upon himself who the now buyer, oh, we turn the tables. If you give me the money, I'll accept the money and get out of potentially my house. That is completely, yeah, we completely reorganized everything here. We start with Kinyan, and plan B is giving it back halva. Then we don't say asmachta, and then you're right. Then everyone are big boys and they realize the risks, but it's not called plan B. Plan B, we don't believe in plan B in halacha. Let's put it this way. I mean, sometimes. Kinyan, yeah, absolutely. As we said, Kinyan is the word. Very good. Let's continue. Now go back to the bottom of the page. And now the new question, I'm just giving you an intro, and that is, what happened if someone was moichel, a person, sort of did mechila, was mevater, it's mechila vitul, and it came out that the reason why he was mevater was the result of a mistake. There was some kind of misunderstanding, some kind of mistake on his side, and the reason why he gave what he gave or gave in was because he was lacking some information. Do we say, listen, he gave in, gave up, and agreed? Or do we say, no, the entire giving in, the entire mechila was based on some factual or halachic mistake, and then we say that the mechila is not a mechila, and now you have to give him back what he gave you. Let's see how it goes. Amar of Nachman, nice and slow. Amar of Nachman, hashta de Omer Abonon, asmachta loy kanya, right? Now that we say that asmachta is not koine. So now you tell me, asmachta is not koine. Now you tell me, people. Let's pause and think because you know it already. The guy who lent 1 million is now sitting in the apartment of what? Of the 2 million. Let's say he does. Comes Mr. Who? Mr. Loive with million cash. A month later, 2 months later, half year later. Here's your 1 million. Get out of my apartment right now. Is he right? Yes. You shouldn't be sitting there. Asmachta loy kanya. If you sat in my place, you're wrong, right? Let's take it one step further. Let's say Mr. Borrower was not knowledgeable. Mr. Borrower was a tmimis diki guy. He didn't know the halacha, and he actually allowed Mr. Lender to sit in his place. And after 3-4 months, a friend came to him and says, "Why did he move house?" Told him the whole story. Says the friend, the Talmid Chacham, I go to Amud Yomi Shiur, and we learned that you've been tricked. Yeah, you've been ripped off. It's wrong. The guy shouldn't be sitting in your 2 million apartment. And you know what? You have million in your bank somewhere else. Give him the million and get your apartment back. Okay, Beseder? That was a story. Not a real, I'm saying that can be potentially a story here. Omar of Nachman. Hashta domer abonon asmachta loy kanya. Now that we pass an asmachta is not koine, Hadar ara v'hadri peri. Aha. Says Rashi, hadri peri, the fruit also go back to who? To him, meaning to the original owner. Let's say the person sat there all along. In other words, let's say even a worse case, Mr. Lender was there all the time and was eating the fruit. What's eating the fruit? Maybe it was a field with fruit and he sold them, millions and millions of, grapes, right? Or he was sitting there rent-free. To live in a house is also worth money. Maybe rented it out. Now, not only he has to pay to give back the apartment, he also has to give back what? All the fruit that he was enjoying the wrong way, because really it shouldn't be his right from the start. Whenever that happened, Lamaisa, he was enjoying fruit, which were, so to speak, forbidden fruit. It wasn't really his, because it's machta loy kanya. So now when you pay back, you, Mr. Seller, you got to pay back to the now assertive loive, give him the apartment, and give him a big fat check for all the past years that you illegally ate from his house. Okay? So for so good. Wait a minute. So what's wrong? What's the chiddush? What's the story? Lemeimra. Savar Rav Nachman, must be Rav Nachman, who's saying the statement, believes mechila betos lo havia mechila. As I told you. Which means, Lamaisa, that person who didn't know the halacha, he was moichel. Right? He says, okay, He thought it's okay that he's eating my fruit. He thought that's halacha, that's fine, it's good. And really, the mechila was based on a mistake. Mechila based on a mistake is not a mechila, right? And therefore, all the fruit you ate, Mister Malve, give back to the real owner, because the real owner allowed you to eat because he was not aware of the real halacha. It's mechila betos, right? So far, so good. The problem starts now. Yeah. Correct, the Gemara. Is that so? Really, is that so? Va'itmal. Look at the following statement. Amoicher peiros dekel lachaveroi. Oh, we all know about kin nedova shelo beloilom. I have a nice palm tree, but the fruit didn't yet grow, and I'm selling you futures. I'm selling you the fruit that are going to grow. Okay. Oh, we know it's a machloikes dova shelo beloilom. You may or may not be able to sell. Omar Avuna. Ad shelo beloilom yochel achzor boy. Before the fruit came to the world, yeah. In other words, it's now, let's say, winter. The dates didn't yet grow there. Before the dates started growing, the kinyan didn't kick in lekulama. That everyone agrees. Yeah. In other words, nothing really started, and therefore, I regret. We can cancel the deal on both sides because the item is not here yet. However, mishabau la'olam en yochel achzor boy. Ravuna believes dava shelo ba'olam you may sell. You may sell that, like Rav Meir in Kiddushin, Samech Gimel, and like many other places. And he says once they started budding, what? The dates, then the kinyan we made, let's say 3 months before, earlier to that, when they did not exist in the world, now the kinyan kicks in. Yeah, let's say it's now Tevis, and I'm selling you the fruit of the palm tree that are going to grow in, let's say, Tammuz. Tammuz came, they started budding, point of no return. The original kinyan, even though we didn't repeat it, the kinyan before now kicks in because you may sell dova shelo beloilom, but it's a delayed reaction. It will go into action when the item will actually come to the world. But conceptually, you may be koine dova shelo beloilom according to Ravuna, and that's good with Rav Meir. Rav Nachman Omar. Oh, Rav Nachman. We're going to now see a steer in Rav Nachman and Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman Omar af mishabal oilam yachol achzor boy. Yeah, no. Rav Nachman says ma pitom dova shelo beloilom. I sold you the very famous Brooklyn Bridge. It's not as bad as Brooklyn Bridge, yeah. He will come to the world. But Lemaisa, when we spoke there in Kislev Tevis, the dates did not exist. Empty talk, lo baloilom. Now the dates came. I can regret what I said. Because why? It's dava shelo baloilom. So far, so good. And you may ask, what does that have to do with us anyways? Here comes the punchline. The Omar of Nachman, Moidina, I agree, says Rav Nachman, the Shamit ve'ochil loy mefkinan minei. Let's say that the person who bought the dates, even though the kinyan was not a real kinyan, it was not a real kinyan, right? Rav Nachman says, if I makne the fruit of the palm tree that will come in future, it's not a kinyan. The fruit came to the world, and without further ado, Mr. Buyer goes and ate them. He made a nice bar priya, ate and ate, took meisters, everything, whatever, and then he ate. Then he cannot ask the seller who claimed, why eating my fruit? I regret it wasn't kinyan to begin with, but once he already ate, you can't go back on your word. Yeah, once you saw him eating and you kept quiet, then you were moichel, even though your mechila was the result of misunderstanding, because you thought davar shelo ba'olam you may sell and really you may not sell, but lemaisa you agreed, you kept shtum, you seem to have an agreement, even though it's based on mistake. But the mechila betos is what? Is mechila stira. Again, let's see again clearly the stira. Let's have the stira in front of our eyes. Rav Nachman versus Rav Nachman. On one hand, in our story, Rav Nachman says, what? I borrowed money from you, right? I gave you my land and mistakenly stupidly thought that really, I'm such a doormat. I have to, just, go along with everything great Mr. Malva says. And he ate all the fruit and he stayed in the apartment. One day, the rebellion of what? Of the loive. Somebody whispered in his ear, you're wrong. Take back the apartment, give him 1 million cash, finish the story. And what did he say? Hey, not only get the apartment out of him, get all the rent from before. Not only the field, get all the fruit he ate before. That was completely legal right from the start. You're mevater? You're mevater unknowingly. You're mevater as a result of a mistake, right? That's what Rahman says. Here, all of a sudden, Rahman is singing a different song. Here, when it comes to selling the palm tree fruit, the dates, we say what? When I sold the fruit in, let's say, Goishamant, which I don't like to use, January, let's say the dates are not growing, and I said, I'm selling you now what the decal will bring, hoping for the best, in August. Now came August, says Rav Nachman, it's not a Kenyan. First of all, it's no Kenyan. And if Mr. Buyer starts eating from the dates, so the August dates, yeah, very August, then what? Then it's nothing. What do you mean it's nothing? They're not really his. However, if he ate, he doesn't have to pay. If he ate those fruit, it's not a gazlan because Mr. Seller thought that it's a Kenyan. Mr. Seller didn't say anything. So Mimela Mechila Batos is Mechila. Here you say Mechila by mistake is not a Mechila. Give me everything back. I was misled. I was misunderstood. And what? Give me everything back. And here we don't say that. Here by the Mechira, we say, the dates you ate, Lamaisi was Moichel. Maybe he didn't know the right halacha, but in his mind, he gave up. He was okay with you eating all the dates. He didn't cry over it. He thought that's the right thing. Maybe for Mechila it's good enough. And we say it is good enough for Mechila. What's going on? Answers the Gemara, one clear answer. Ribit. There's a difference between a sale and alva. Alva has something called ribis, which means really mechila batos, havi mechila. A person who gave in because mechila is not like I am selling you something that I have to know what I'm doing. I mean, I have to know what I'm doing up to a point, of course. Mechila means you don't really care. You don't really care. And therefore, conceptually, even though the not caring came out of maybe misinformation, Lamaisa, yesterday you didn't shout before you came to your big fat lawyer. You're okay with that yesterday. Yeah, so don't make such a big drama. So conceptually, when it comes to normal cases such as mechira, spini, once you gave in, you gave in. Don't go back and start taking, out the dates from all the dates that he ate. However, by us, if you meichel all the fruit that he ate and he was a malve, that makes like something that starts with a resh and finishes with a sof. I think it's called ribis. In other words, once the person is up in arms and says, hey, I deserve everything back, even though he's not right be'etzem, we support him because it looks like ribis. Again, who is the one who's eating the extra fruit that he doesn't deserve? Malve. The malve, at the end of the day, at the end of the very sad story, he got the packet water of $1 million. Now, if he eats everything in the past 3 years, that's $1 million plus another Shenis Chiris in Yerushalayim for 3 years costs a lot of money. So he got million plus. That is like ribis, that is similar to ribis, and that we do not support. And therefore, in that case, for ribis reasons, we do say the mechila batos for change, loy havya mechila. That's the reason. Omarove, more on the same. Let's start a little bit of Samach Zayin Amud Aleph. Hava Yasivna Kamei Rav Nachman. I sat in front of Rav Nachman. Again, what did Rav Nachman say conceptually? Mechila batos, havia mechila. Unless it's ribis, normally a mechila, you gave it with all your heart. You were okay. You were fine. Even though there was some point you misunderstood. Now I'm going to see it doesn't always work. But sometimes we say at the end of the day, shine yalla. Your Michael, go along with the Mechila and finish. I sat in front of Rav Nachman, and I wanted to ask him to challenge him from the halacha of Oino, which we learned in the previous parak. I'm just reading on. The Oidik, he noticed it. Rav Nachman, the great guy, knew I'm going to ask it. He saw me opening the mouth. I sometimes know you guys where you're going to ask before you ask the question. Yeah, he knew he was going to ask it. Chazisan Eilonis, yeah, and he now proved it to me from Eilonis, yeah. In other words, we're just making a statement here. He proved his point that he is right about Mechila Batos from a story about an Eilonis, a woman that cannot give birth. Now, this is all Chinese. This is just a formula. Now we're going to explain the terms of that formula. Says the Gemara. What's the challenge against Rav Nachman? Oino. What's the story of Oino? The Mechila Batosi, the law of Mechila. In other words, what's the question? You, Rav Nachman, you tell me, if a person was moichel by mistake, the Mechila is based on some kind of misinformation, the Mechila is still a Mechila. So if you have a nice new American guy who just came to Israel and somebody wants to sell him a kosher phone for a cheap price, only 500 shekels for you, That's terrible, I know, because I doubt this is cost more than secondhand, maybe 100 shekel, no more, right? And he's selling him for 500. That's terrible, I know. The American guy that was ripped off comes back to the store screaming. Does he get the money back? Of course, the whole thing changes. It's more than a shtus, right? Why? It's mechila betos. He thought he's doing the right deal. Why are you going to say mechila based on wrong something is good mechila, and now the American who bought the phone has nothing to say? L'chor, it's a challenge against Rav Nachman. The Gemara is going to answer a very clear difference, but that's ki'ilu a challenge on Rav Nachman. And then the oidik, yeah, and then the oidik, and he saw that I'm going to answer that. Chazisan, you know, Chazisan Elonis, he proved this part from Elonis. Elonis, the mechila batosu, the havia mechila. We're going to see tomorrow, actually not tomorrow, on Thursday, we're going to see a Mishnah that says that if a woman is an Elonis, mekachtos, a person married a girl, didn't find out in shidduchim, she can't have birth, she doesn't even have the proper organs of a woman, the chlad to give birth and procreate and all that. Of course, it's mechila batos. It's the whole thing was a mistake, and yet there it sounds like mechila batos is mechila. And the question is, what's the question? Really, mechila is on her side, by the way. In that case, and that we'll see Meretz Hashem after Purim. Tomorrow is Purim, and the day after, I'm not going to be here, I don't think, on Wednesday. See tomorrow, no, see on Thursday, Meretz Hashem, 9:25 here in Avos Shalom, and on YouTube, and on Torah anytime. And everybody's invited to Mass tomorrow, 11:30. Even people in America, if you quick enough, come tomorrow, 11:30, Lachish 40 over 6, Ramad B'Shemesh, and going to have a nice time. Thank you very much, and a great day.